Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Isicsb board meeting for July. Holly, would you please call roll?
Luke Erpelding.
Present, represent communication centers.
Curtis Walton will not be here. Michelle Bischoff.
Yes, Michelle Bischoff, representing fire departments.
Michael Colby.
Present, representing municipal police departments.
Jeff Vanderwater.
Present, representing sheriff's offices.
Patrick Updike.
President, member at large.
And do we have any legislative members present? We do have a quorum.
Great, thank you so much. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve today's agenda.
Vandy Water moves.
Colby will second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving today's agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I will now entertain a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes from June 11th.
Erpelding a motion.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Vandy Water.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That brings us to the SWIC report. SWIC Nichols.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Chair Bischoff. This July's presentation is a basic things to consider for cybersecurity for non-IT personnel. You can see that at your local RIC meeting. On the 7th, we had a coordinated meeting with the State Patrol Sergeant Dinkla about RAGBRAI. That was for all pass-through counties to provide some information on what to expect, the comms plan and interoperability. And we did that just to spread a little wider than just the overnight cities. If there's any questions on that, get a hold of me and I can put you in touch with Sergeant Dinkla. The comms plans, you can also reach out to your local state radios comm center. I've been approved to give a presentation again at Fire School. That'll be January 2027. It'll just be effective radio communications for interoperability and some of the new IMED information. For an IMED report, we have paid all the invoices for the radios and work that was done, and we made that by the end of the fiscal year. And then today I will have the first scheduled deployment of wave technology in a hospital. So I'm excited to get started on that. For everyone to know, there was a typo found in 1.5.5. That's the standard on medical interoperable communications for talk group name. It was an error found in the actual alias of the hospital for Sanford and Sheldon, and that's in O'Brien County, so Region 3, and that's been fixed, and version 1.2 has been placed back on the website. Training, I am still looking to find dates for the approved INTD course that will be hosted in Carroll County. You might have seen on today's agenda, there will be a request for the board approval to submit a TA request for a state-sponsored COML. And if that gets approved and we can plan that, remember that ICS 300 is a prerequisite. There are some courses planned here in Iowa, and you can find those on our website. Holly tries to keep that up to date with the FEMA courses. You may remember that we have quite a few standards up for public comment. There are 6 days left in the comment period on those documents. We have received over 100 views on every one of those. So far, we have not received any comments to report on. And then the last thing to talk about is on today's agenda, I am also putting in a request to attend Central States Tom's Exercise down in Arkansas. That's a really good event I went to a couple years ago. Iowa was well represented, and I'm looking forward to that if that gets approved. And that's my report, and I can take any questions.
Great. Thank you, Haley. Appreciate the report. Are there any questions for this week? That brings us to the 911 Council report. Program Manager Darushi.
Yeah, thank you. A few things for the interest of this group today. First, big thank you to Department of Public Safety. We have the disaster recovery vehicle taking live 911 calls out of Page County this week. They're doing a remodel there, and then it will be moving to Fremont County next week for a remodel there. So again, that's a 4-seat PSAP that we've helped build in the mobile command vehicle, and big thanks to DPS for helping to move that and support those requests. We did decommission the West Des Moines Next Gen Core Service Data Center, move that to Raleigh, North Carolina. We had a hard deadline of June 30th. The facility itself was closing. So over the last 18 months, and we worked with carriers, call handling providers, and PSAPs to move that facility. So West Des Moines has been decommissioned, and calls are now routing through Raleigh. Along those same lines, with kind of the 911 network engineering design, we are also needing to move our Davenport core to Council Bluffs. So we'll be taking steps to move that facility here in the near future as well. An update, and we covered this more in depth at the 911 Council meeting, but just wanted to give everyone a quick update. June 15th, we did experience a multi-state impairment. It had to do with a failing cable that helped deliver caller location. And caller location is obviously then also related to call routing. So what happened was that we experienced long call setup times while the call was trying to connect and determine which PSAP to route to. So during about the hour and a half issue, over 1,000 911 calls were placed in Iowa, and 677 of those resulted in a caller hang up due to long connection time. So we have obviously worked with the vendor to replace that cable. It was out of their Phoenix data center. And additional mitigation factors are being looked at, such as addressing the automatic failover. When it is an intermittent issue, a lot of times automatic failovers don't work as they're designed to. So working with Comtech to address that. And again, it wasn't a multi-state issue. It did impact more than just us. It did impact more than just their next gen core service customers. So, and then I should also point out that some calls were successfully delivered as well. So kind of a hard situation to sort through in the moment to determine the actual impacts on the ground. So wanted to give everyone an update on that. That concludes everything. I would take any questions.
Great. Thank you, Blake. Appreciate it. Are there any questions for Program Manager Darushi? Moving on, User Group Committee, Chair Vandewater.
Thank you. The users group met on June 18th. We had 8 members present. We reviewed one application, which will be later addressed under the new business heading. And that concludes my lengthy report.
Very well. Thank you, Sheriff. Are there any questions for the user group? That brings us to finance. The finance committee did meet this month and reviewed the finances. There were no anomalies found. Everything was very normal. We have received the funds that from the DOT. That is the 42,000 figure in the revenue portion of the report. So that has been accomplished. There will be some salaries that were paid for out of other line items that will come back to this report where they belong. but our employees have maintained their pay. So we're grateful for that. But no other issues were found. There are, as the SWIC mentioned, there are some expenditures for us to consider during our new business. Are there any questions regarding the finance report? Great, thank you. Moving on to governance. Chair Colby.
Good morning, everybody. We did meet this week on Monday. We did kind of have a short agenda. I won't step on a lot of toes with technology group, but we did take a chance to look at a policy technology we've been looking at, 2014-01.G. And there was some conversation when we kicked over the policy that governance has been working on for review for the broadband PTT over LMR technology. And they have looked at that policy that we sent them in draft form, and we're able to combine that verbiage that we gave them into this policy too. So I'll let the technology chair talk through that when it's his turn here in a moment. And then that was basically our short meeting. I think what else? We had a couple other changes through there and verbiage and stuff just with acronyms and stuff through there, but that's about it. And then we will meet again in August.
Very well, thank you, Chief. Are there any questions for the governance committee? That brings us to the operations committee. Chair Erpelding.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Operations Committee met this past Tuesday, July 7th, with 5 members being present. For old business, we finished the review of Isicsb Standard 1.5.0. With the short time frame between that meeting and today's meeting, we were not able to get the 30-day comment on the agenda for today, so we're going to move that to August. So that'll be coming up. For new business, we discussed and worked quite a bit on the new visor cards. We did take away some homework from that. We didn't complete the work on that, and that ate up most of the time for the rest of the meeting. With that, our next meeting is going to be on August 4th at 3 p.m. That concludes my report for today.
Great, thank you, Luke. Are there any questions for the operations committee? That brings us to training and outreach committee. Swick, do you have a report on this in Chair Wilton's absence?
I apologize, I do not. I was unable to attend training. I was working on the grant project. So we can double up next month.
Yep, very well. The ComU credentialing subcommittee, Deputy Swick Walzer.
He is also not here today, so
Okay.
I will report for that. They reviewed 2 task books, and you'll see one of those individuals on the agenda later today.
Very well, thank you. Are there any questions for training and outreach? That brings us to the technology committee. Chair Updike.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The technology committee met on June 25th and July 3rd. Both those meetings spent the entire time looking at the draft policy that Chair Colby mentioned and the existing standard 1.10.0. What we did was we combined the two because 1.10.0 really focused more on the conventional side of things where you're cross-connecting things like conventional channels, VLAW 31, those types of things. And even though it did mention broadband push to talk, it didn't really give much detail. And so we went ahead and combined the wording of those 2 documents. It doesn't name everything specifically in the broadband arena, but we feel like it's suitable. So some of the other discussions with this broadband connection was existing users. What do you do about the people who have already connected those VoIP systems or whatever that broadband cross connect into Isicsb is? And so I think the general feeling is that maybe we can look into some type of survey where we can inventory those things. And it would include those people who have transmit receive functionality, but also those entities that are set up for receive only, because they are connected to the system in one form or another. And so if that system fails, even though it's receive only, we need to know who they are. The other issue that came up was capacity. And so, and from a global perspective, you've got a lot of things going on out there, and when do you tap the capacity out on the system? And so the general feeling is that one, we should probably look at developing a policy that addresses capacity issues. But before you can start that, we're probably going to have to reach out to our system administrators and possible vendors and those people who are producing the equipment that could potentially be connected to the system. So, Haley, if I missed anything, feel free to jump in, but probably should read this document, whether you comment on it or not, because it does have some effect on users out there. Haley, you want to add any more to that?
No, I don't believe I have anything to add.
Okay. I guess that concludes my report for now.
Very well. Thank you, Patrick. And I tend to agree with you in the capacity issue. That's been a long-standing question for the system. We haven't reached any of those capacity problems in the past, but we know it's something that the system will encounter in the future, or likely will encounter in the future, at least in some areas. And it is something that we need to have a plan for how we will address. So I welcome the conversation regarding how we might put that into policy and kind of future proof or have a future plan for the system. I think that's great work. So thank you.
Yeah, if I could add something else,
Sure.
This standard would basically push new users through the user group committee for approval.
Okay.
So if you want to bring some broadband connectivity into the system, you would have to go through UGC approval.
Yeah, that triggers that whole review of what's the impact to the system. So that seems appropriate. Look forward to the read.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any other questions or comments for the technology committee?
Sorry, I was muted. I just wanted to thank them for the work on this and combining the two policies. I know we spent a lot of time on our group there, and I got to read over that after they put it all together, and I think it looks really good and will be a step forward for the state in adopting new technology, but also keeping the integrity of the system that we're all governing here as it should be.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, moving on to other reports. Information sharing amongst board members. Does anyone have anything to share among the board members?
Just continuing, I would put this out there among the board members with your circles. Clear Lake is looking at possibly very, very early on in the process of partnering with the Iowa NENA chapter and maybe holding a CMCP class for public safety telecommunicator leaders sometime late this year, early next year too. So if that does get all put together, we'll push it out to this group and many others across the state to hopefully get a good attendance on it too. So just keep that in mind, very early, but hopefully we'll pull that together.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Any
Chair
other
Bischoff.
items?
Yeah, Chair Bischoff, this is Swick Nichols.
Yep.
We passed over item B on 13, FirstNet broadband. I just wanted.
Yeah, I'll circle back. Thank you. Yep, I missed that one. Sorry.
No problem.
Is there any other information sharing? All right, we'll circle back to item 13B and the FirstNet broadband subcommittee. Swick Nichols.
Sure, and sorry to bring it up since we actually haven't had a meeting since our June 9th meeting. So there is no report, but I wanted to make sure that we hit it. And also for the next meeting, which is July 14th, AT&T is going to supply a couple of folks to answer some questions that came up at the June meeting. So just be aware that that'll be listed on the agenda. That's the report. Thank you.
Yeah, very well. Thank you. And thank you for bringing it to my attention that I missed it. So appreciate that. Any questions for the FirstNet broadband subcommittee? That brings us to our system admin. Scott or Al?
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to provide a report today. The Hardin site recently experienced a power issue due to a main breaker failure, which required it to run entirely on its backup generator for a few days. The crew successfully replaced and tested the new breaker, safely restoring main utility power. The site is now back to normal and operating perfectly. Also, RF maintenance is underway in the southeast part of Iowa this month and will continue through August. Next week, the crews will be working at Maquoketa on Monday, Jackson on Tuesday, Muscatine on Thursday, and Scott on Friday. As a quick reminder, these maintenance windows will take each site offline for about 4 hours while work is performed. If you need the full list of scheduled sites, please feel free to reach out. Also, the HVAC maintenance is still ongoing, as well as the Juniper router conversion. Finally, I have some numbers from last month. The system currently has 49,597 active IDs, 3,664 talk groups, and it successfully handled over 3.2 million PTTs. Thank you for your time, and with that, I conclude my report.
Great. Thank you, Al. Appreciate it. Are there any questions for our sysadmins? That brings us to the FirstNet Authority. Tom Lampy.
Yes. I just want to
Hello.
report that on the 2nd, the NTIA announced through Secretary Lutnick appointed 12. Oh, I'm sorry. We are now at full strength on our board at 12. We have U.S. Attorney General that are permanent members, Secretary of Homeland Security, Director of Office Management and Budget, and then other public safety officials. So that they appointed 4 more, so now we're at full strength. The other thing we noted, I think I've reported before, that Secretary Lutnick also secured additional $2 billion for the FirstNet network that we can use as in-kind monies for the FirstNet network. And that translates into assisting Iowa and other states with making the network stronger. We are really ramping up our tower sites and spending the money to get sites and coverage. As you know, in August, we have the workshop during the broadband committee where we'll be presenting what we have spent on thus far, what your requests, the status of your requests from the last batch, and we'll be asking for more priorities through the end of this fiscal and then into the next fiscal. So I'll be bugging you a lot with for coverage requests. As always, there's a survey link out there. Swick Nichols has that. If you don't have it, contact me. I'll get you. It's very important that you list areas where FirstNet service is needed, especially rural. Is what we focus on. The authority spends money on the rural areas. So that's very important. So we get our network stronger and stronger every year with that, with the funds that we have. I will have the FirstNet Authority truck. It's an F-350 with equipment on it starting the week of the 20th of Braeburn. I'll be stopping at different spots with that to demonstrate that. That has the push to talk equipment in it. It has a mini CRD, which is a cell site. So I'll keep it through the fair. I'll have it at the Farm Progress Show, and then I'm going to probably take it down to Central States, as Haley had mentioned, for that. So with that, that's my report for this month.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions for the First Net Authority? Next is an update from AT&T. Is Carol O'Donnell on the line?
I'm here in person.
Oh, fantastic.
How's everybody doing? Nice to meet everybody. I don't have anything to share other than introducing myself as taking over the entire state of Iowa effective July 1st. I took over the state role June 1st, and then we had some transitions. I look forward to working with all of you in the departments, and reach out to me as needed.
Great. Thank you, and welcome aboard. Are there any questions for AT&T and Kara? That brings us to the CISA update. Chris Myers.
Yes, thank you, Chair Bischoff. Good morning to the board. Appreciate the time, as always. We're going to start off this month by talking about something called a binding operational directive that was released a couple of weeks ago for federal agencies. Now, what a binding operational directive is it basically says to all the federal agencies, you must do this to your processes now. And normally these just kind of go by the wayside because they only affect federal agencies, but this one in particular has some things that might be useful to state and locals as they go out and manage their systems. For a while now, you've seen that CISA produces a lot of cybersecurity advisories. There's a ton of vulnerabilities that are released every day for all sorts of systems. And one of the questions that I've come across every so often is, how do I prioritize what's important versus what is not? This new binding operational directive for federal agencies, again, it doesn't apply directly to states or locals. It outlines some things that are supposed to be done by Fed agencies within a certain timeline. Key things for the federal agencies that this applies to directly are they are supposed to look at what they have and figure out what assets are exposed. Think of systems, think of servers, think of all sorts of things. Look at the known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, which is where all these exploits are not only listed online, but is someone taking advantage of them to hurt someone. Look at whether or not those vulnerabilities could be automated, as in could an adversary go, I'm going to scan the internet for someone that's exposed, and then I'm going to automatically take advantage of them. And then the last piece of that overview that federal agencies are supposed to look at is, can someone take technical control of a system if they gain access to it? These four criteria are kind of the new way that federal agencies are supposed to look at prioritizing how they approach cybersecurity vulnerabilities, when they're mitigated, and how they're mitigated. And then also what type of post-mortem activities might be done. On the next slide, kind of broke this down as far as what we have to do as federal agencies now. They include updating all of our vulnerability management policies to prioritize the critical and exposed vulnerabilities on systems. It obligates federal agencies to look at the KEV catalog and also say, hey, there are certain timelines that we have to follow depending on how critical the asset is and whether or not it's exposed, and if it's something that someone could take advantage of. Then also automate various types of reporting and work on a report, and of course utilize cyber hygiene scanning. Cyber hygiene scanning is something that CISA does offer to agencies to look at potential exposures on the internet, provides a report to stakeholders to say this is where you're exposed and this is what an adversary can see as kind of an information sharing thing, and that is available for free to agencies that want to use it. Now, if you're asking what does this actually mean to me and what can I actually do, there is no obligation to follow these steps. There may be some best practices here that you can incorporate into your asset and vulnerability management policies, programs, and systems. Think of this as a way to help prioritize the immense number of cybersecurity advisories that come out every week. And also, too, the vulnerability response timeline on the next slide is something that really, I think, is where the meat and potatoes of this actually lies. So if you look at this, proposed remediation timelines are anywhere from 3 to 60 days, depending on the criticality of the asset, whether or not it's exposed, whether or not we know someone is taking advantage of that exposure, and also if someone gets in, do they get partial control or total control of the system? This timeline, again, it kind of lists how to prioritize these types of things based on this logic, and this is where some of those best practices may reside. We don't necessarily have any success stories from this just yet because this binding operational directive is pretty new, but there are some good things here that a lot of agencies at all levels of government could probably leverage. Again, there is no obligation. So that is what this binding operational directive is. It is listed on the bottom of the slide here. Anybody can go online, download it, read it, and then figure out how it applies to their agency, if it applies at all. If anybody has any questions, feel free to let me know. I can kind of talk a little bit more offline on what some of this covers. Last slide for the day, regional news of note. Of course, FIFA is still ongoing in Kansas City. The final match is July 11th, and there are a lot of lessons being learned from this series of events. I'm assuming that the partner agencies in Kansas City are going to be working on several after actions. I don't have any updates on when those might be done, but if there is anything that can be shared, I will let you all know. We are also going to be working with the state of Illinois on a SCIP refresh on July 29th. That's the in-person workshop. Your specific TA requests are being processed right now. I will say the update that we are looking at revolves around dates and availabilities of potential instructors to help support. We may have to start looking at October for a timeline for these courses. I don't have any solid confirmation on that just yet, but we may have to look towards fall for those courses to be supported. Then, of course, you heard your SWIC talk about the Central States COMEX that is coming up September 22nd through the 25th in Hot Springs, Arkansas. That is a venue change over the previous Joplin-Quapaw area. There were some logistical issues that popped up that needed to move. It doesn't necessarily change anything else except for the actual location. Otherwise, that is my report for the month. Chair Bischoff, I can go ahead and take any questions.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the report. Are there any questions from Chris's report? That brings us to old business. Is there any old business that the board needs to address? Hearing none. Moving on to new business. New Isicsb approval. We have Jackson County Sheriff's Office. This is in Minnesota at a level 1. Chair Vanderwater, would you like to speak to this item?
Briefly, yes. Again, the users group met on June 18th, and following the recommendation of the users group committee after reviewing their application, I would make a motion to approve the Jackson County, Minnesota Sheriff's Office application to access the Isicsb system as a level 1 user.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Erpeling will second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving Jackson County Sheriff's Office in Minnesota as a level 1 user, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our next item is approval of a 30-day comment period on Isicsb Standard 1.10.0 cross-spectrum interoperability. Brooke Nichols, would you like to make any comments on this item?
This is the standard that technology and governance spoke about. It combines the draft policy for broadband push-to-talk and incorporates the language from both standards. So it's an update to 1.10, and it has been thoroughly looked at by those two committees and available to others. I don't have anything else to add unless there are specific questions for me or Vice Chair Updike.
Would either chair like to make comments? That it was pretty much covered in your committee reports as well, but any specifics?
No, I would just say that you should take the time to read it.
Very well. With that, I would entertain. Okay, very well. Chair Colby, do you have any further comments? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve a 30-day comment period for the ISIC standard 1.10.0 cross-spectrum interoperability.
Colby, a motion.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Vandy Water.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor of the 30-day comment period for standard 1.10.0, please signify by saying aye.
I
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our next item is approval of the technical assistance request to CISA for the state-sponsored communication leader course. Swick Nichols, would you like to make any comments?
Sure, thanks. ECC Myers has put it all together here. I would like to submit this to CISA. There's been a request to hold a COM-L. We have a host city, and thankfully we now have 3 COM-L instructors in the state. And Nick Bersinio is offering to teach this course, and his agency will take care of all of his travel needs. And I believe Chad Roberts from DPS has agreed to be the second instructor, and Deputy Swick Walser has some other commitments, but he would be available for a couple of days and bring required resources. So depending on how many days he attended, there would be some travel costs involved to the board. And that's all I have unless there are any questions.
Are there any questions regarding this item? With that, I would entertain a motion for approval of the technical assistance request for the COM-L class.
Purpling will motion.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Colby.
Vandy Water.
I have a motion and then 2 seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our next item is to approve Swick Nichols' travel to the Central States COMEX in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Swick Nichols, do you have any further comments than what was in your report?
No, unless there's any questions specific.
Are there any questions regarding this item? With that, I would entertain a motion to approve Swick Nichols' travels to Hot Spring, Arkansas for the COMEX.
Colby, motion.
Is there a second?
Purpling will second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the travel, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. That brings us to the ComU credentials. I'll turn this over to Swick Nichols to award Marilyn Mosinski her ComL.
Okay, I'll ask Mary Lynn to come up, please. She was one of the attendees of the Los Hills event, and she has been a very active member in the ComL program. So congratulations to her on her ComL credentialing. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Marilyn, and thank you to your agency for encouraging you and providing time for you to achieve this. Thank you. That brings us to public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to address the board? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Vandy Water moves.
Is there a second?
Colby.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all for your dedication to the interoperability within the state of Iowa. Thank you and have a great week.
Right.